All right, guys. It's Pixie, and yep, I've just finished watching SummerSlam. If you haven't already seen it and you want to see it and you're bothered about spoilers or I'll try and keep it relative. Well, no, I'm not even gonna. There's no point. I'm just gonna roll with it. But basically, what I wanted to cover tonight, this morning, it's like 5:25 in the morning, and I usually stay up and watch pay-per-views anyway, especially if it's a Saturday night because Monday morning I have work. So if I'm if I don't have the morning, if I don't have the day off, I don't really bother watching live. I'll catch it up. I've had to catch up on NXT recently because the dumb fucks decided they were gonna go, oh, I know, let's move NXT pay-per-views to Sunday because nobody cares. Really messes my watching of NXT live up, which I much more enjoy NXT pay-per-views. But anyway, we're talking SummerSlam. If you haven't seen it, as I said, I'm going to spoil it. So feel free to come back and watch this video once you've watched SummerSlam if you fancy to hear my thoughts. So while it's fresh in my mind and the emotions are still fresh for me, let's talk main event Jey Uso against Roman Reigns. Let's talk what this match was and what it could have been. Because if you haven't heard the news already, or you haven't watched it, this was, in essence, a great match. But when it came down to it, a waste of time and a pointless freaking extension of an already dead storyline. I get what they're trying to do. I understand that they don't give a shit about what the fans think. They don't care if this is boring to the fans. They just care that they do what they want to do and they get the Reigns, the history rewrote, and Roman Reigns is part of that history they want to rewrite, despite the fact that he is nowhere near in the top three wrestlers in the company if you count them purely on ability and fan appreciation. He's not even in the top three. And he's never been in the top three. He's got the potential to grow into maybe the top 10. I don't personally rate the guy as a performer, but I think he's improved massively. But I think it's time they stopped this stupid idea of Roman breaking insane title reigns just to fucking rewrite history, when reality is, who cares about the wrestlers of, most people who watch wrestling don't know about these record breaking reigns because they don't fucking happen anymore. And nobody wants them to happen anymore. I don't mind a long reign. That's fine. But this is stupid. This is getting silly. And he's not won any of these title defenses without some interference. So it's not even going to matter how long his reign is because nobody's going to legitimately have any respect for his reign because he's not actually done it like everybody else. He's cheated all the time. And yeah, heels cheat and that's fine. But some heels do actually win matches without interference and without cheating. So I don't understand why Roman needs to cheat for more or less every single title defense. It's just extending his reign artificially. And that's my issue with the ending of this match. Obviously, Solo interfered. I was okay with Solo interfering. I thought, okay, that makes sense. If Solo's interfering, then brains would dictate maybe they didn't make it over the pond to fucking Triple H and fucking Vince McMahon, but dictates that you would have Jimmy help him because of Solo, or Jimmy would maybe go against him, but there'd be some payoff, there'd be some evening out of the interference so that it wasn't another fucking bullshit scenario where Roman can't actually defend his title on his own. But no, we get the same old shit as we've got all the way through his reign. even with Jey Uso, the tribal combat stipulation was all about no interference, no involvement from anybody else. They've not acknowledged that. So basically, the match was fucking null and void soon as Solo interfered, in my opinion, and it basically was a pointless fucking fiasco. If you just wanted an ODQ match, just make it an ODQ match. Don't make it a tribal combat match if it's not going to follow actual tribal combat rules. Or don't make Jey or Roman fucking explain that there's meant to be some kind of no interference stuff in this and it's between him and Jey, and then, oh, no, now I can bring Solo in, so that's fine. Like, what? Like, it makes no sense. Jimmy and Jey have had issues, and we get that might come up, but Jimmy has issues with Roman as well. So why would Jimmy smash out Jey and not Roman? What the fuck is going on? Like, why would any of this happen? Like what? Like, if you're gonna explain it, I'll wait and see. But this to me is just a chaotic mess. And my main issue with it is the fact that we need a new champion. Damian Priest or fucking LA Knight or whoever you want needs to take that belt off Roman as soon as fucking we are able to get it off him. And I don't mean let's wait till WrestleMania. I mean in the next month, that title needs to be gone from Roman Reigns. Whether that's because Jey Uso costs him it, whether that's because Solo costs him it, whether that's because Jimmy costs him it, I couldn't give a tough tit now. I don't care. Just get the belt off him. He's boring as champion. Every match is the same. I'm not saying that the storyline wasn't good, because it has been great, but it's dragging. It's pointless. It's pathetic. It's basically obvious that the only reason the storyline is continuing is to prop up Roman Reigns' title reign, because he doesn't deserve that long of a reign. And one extra thing that I want to mention is what the hell was going on with his music at the end? Is that a sign of a new version of the Shield coming out? Is it a sign of Roman's character changing? Is it a sign of, is it just you fucking with the music to give a false illusion of like something interesting happening because you know that you've fucked up with the whole ending of the story? I mean, to me, if you're going to have Solo and Jimmy interfere, you need someone on Jay's side. You can't just have them all on Roman's side all the time. And to me, it made more sense that when Jimmy interfered, he laid out Jay. It had made more interference for someone like Rikishi or The Rock to come out and go, what the fuck is all this going on? Tribal combat's supposed to be between them two. Or maybe even just come out and fucking lay out Roman and put Jay on top and fucking have him take the title. Because we're bored of Roman as champion. 90% of people I speak to are like, I'm bored of this. This is dragging. It's pointless. I'm going to go watch AEW, or I'm going to go, and this isn't me. I don't really watch AEW that much. This is the majority of people I speak to are more invested in AEW. But even me, when I watch it, I say, well, this is good, but I'm not invested in it. I've no interest. Like, I've not as much interest in AEW. I'm not against it, but I'm just not. I've never been as invested in it for some reason. I've just never quite got involved. Some characters I'm properly invested in and I do like them, but I think it's also this idea that they were trying to be an alternative, and essentially they're not really an alternative. They're just like, I suppose when I say they're not an alternative, I don't mean they're not an alternative, because obviously they are an alternative, but they were set out to be something different, and they're not actually that different. The main difference is that it's a little bit more hardcore. And to be honest, a lot of it is just spot fest. There's no coherence to it from what I can tell. Yes, there will be some people that will disagree with that, but when I've watched it, I don't feel as invested. Maybe it's the production values, I don't know. But regardless, back to SummerSlam. So that is Roman Reigns and Jey. I don't particularly think it was worth having that match. I feel like they've run out of ideas, and the only match they need to have now is the one where Roman Reigns loses the title. And if they don't know how to do that, here's an idea: have him retire. Don't want the guy to retire just yet, but if you can't think of a way to dethrone him, you are rubbish, and you should just tell him that there's no one else for him to face or beat, and he can retire. Because for me, it's a bit ridiculous that this reign is dragging on now. Aside from that, SummerSlam felt relatively slow, not particularly great, not particularly bad, okay, just no special. The triple threat women's title match was, again, slow to start with. Once it got going, the supposed injury to Bianca Belair, and then making a comeback and coming to the ring and actually picking up the win somehow was actually quite good. I wouldn't have gone with that personally, because I feel like Asuka's had the fucking dirty done to her quite a lot, and I really wish she'd just go back to Japan now, because as much as I don't watch Japanese wrestling, so I'd be sad to see her go, I think she should do herself a favor and just go, because they obviously don't respect her. They obviously don't want her in to give her the reign that she deserved. And I'm just sad that she don't get the same respect that she used to in NXT. I'm very sad that that's just come to an end, and all at the expense of the usual faces, up until the fact of we got a cash in. So Io cashed in and successfully won the title off Bianca. Now, I'm pleased that Bianca didn't keep that title. It made no sense for Bianca to win. It made no sense for Charlotte to win. So having Io come in and cash in and get the belt was the best scenario if Asuka wasn't able to keep the belt. I don't know why Asuka was not able to keep the belt. As I've said before, I don't particularly have any faith in WWE's booking of Asuka. They've never booked her great, and I just think since NXT, she's never really been given the reign that she deserves. So I wonder if she might be injured or taking time out. But either way, her losing seemed inevitable before we even got started with Bianca and Charlotte being in there. But then when Io comes out and takes the belt, that was the best case scenario. So I'm pretty grateful for Io on that one, because I'd love to see Io face Asuka, and I'd love to see Io face anyone for that title. The only person I don't want to see her face is Charlotte. I think Charlotte needs to fuck off. Not like necessarily away from TV, just leave the main titles alone. I know you really want to break that record, but if you just keep getting in the title picture and getting handed the title, none of them reigns mean anything. They're just a fucking number, because to me, you haven't really naturally got those reigns like every other women's wrestler that's come before you. It feels like you've just constantly been forced into the title picture because they don't have anybody else, because they can't be bothered putting anyone else in there, because they don't think that person should do it. You've always been favored, and that might be because you are good, but so's every fucker else. And it shouldn't be just one person that gets 15 fucking women's title reigns. It's daft. I don't get why you've got so many reigns. You're not head and shoulders above the rest. There's so many wrestlers that have not even got one title reign that are just as good as Charlotte Flair. So obviously WWE just doesn't have the capability to write them into the storyline, or there's something not going right there. But personally, I'm hoping Charlotte is out of the title picture for a bit now. I'd like to see Asuka versus Io first, but you know, Bianca's obviously injured, so she might not be in the title picture. So that leaves kind of either Bayley kind of turning on her, or Asuka, or unfortunately Charlotte. And if Io's going to retain against Charlotte, let's get that out of the way first, because we all know Charlotte can't stand to not be in the title picture. So, you know, if that's the way we're going to go, that's the way we're going to go. But that was probably my highlight of the night, Io winning through the Money in the Bank. Then we moved to the other Money in the Bank situation, because Seth and Finn were facing for the World Heavyweight Championship. That was pretty solid. But I just feel like this conflict between Judgment Day and Finn and to Damien is eclipsing their ability a bit too much. Like, it's like 1 minute they're on the same page, next minute they're not. It's like, it just doesn't seem like normal. It seems like there's a switch that they keep flicking and they can't decide which way to go with it. Like, Finn 1 minute is on the same page as Damien, then fucking he's out in the ring and oh no, I don't know what you're doing. It doesn't make sense that he would flip so often. They just need to make a decision on if Damien's going to fucking turn on Finn, or if Finn's going to turn on Damien, whichever way it's going to go, who's going to leave the Judgment Day, what's going to happen. They need to make a decision and go with it, instead of what seems to be flip-flopping around, not having a clue what they're doing. There's no conviction there, is what I'm saying. So there's that. So I'm a little bit iffy with that. But it looks like Damian Priest's had enough of Finn, because he's trying to help him and Finn's just reacting the wrong way. And he did try and help him, and Rollins capitalized because Finn were a bit all over the place. Now, again, I hate the fact that they're not giving Finn the run with the title. And if Rollins is working injured, I'd rather Finn take the title off him, even if it means that somewhere down the line, Priest gets pissed off and just cashes in on Balor. Personally, I think it's a bit weird. And just to tie in with this while we're on Judgment Day, Rhea, what is going on? Like, I get that she's trying to help Dom with the North American title, and as much as I don't want Dominic as North American champion, he's doing a great job. Like, and he's been a great heel for so long. It kind of feels like it's a nice reward for him. They can't give him the United States title or the Intercontinental title, mainly because they're both currently held by heels, one of which is probably going to lose it pretty soon. The other one is like probably not going to lose it anytime soon. And neither of them really will be good opponents for him. So he'd have to wait quite a while for that to happen. So yeah, I think it makes sense for him to do what they did with him. I just don't understand what they're doing with Rhea, because to me, Rhea should be a main feature. If she's your women's champion on one brand, you should have her focal point there. But it feels like she's just a bit not lost, but a bit lost in the shuffle in terms of her own rivalries are kind of not a focal point. Now, I know there's a bit of a rivalry with Raquel, but that was done to a T in NXT, and I just don't see him topping that, because it looks like they've not got no focus on it. It just looks a bit wishy-washy and an afterthought. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that one, because I'd love to know what people think about Rhea. She's a massive favourite, I think, but I don't feel like she's been booked very well, and it's kind of disappointing, because she could be like a major star up there with the likes, you know, a similar sort of physique to China and stuff. But either way, that was a bit of a mess with the men's Money in the Bank and the World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins obviously retaining, and there's a bit of a stare down between Finn and Damien. I personally think they should just have them fight for the briefcase, because I'm getting sick of them making a mess of world title matches. Fight for the briefcase, and then also whoever keeps the briefcase stays with Judgment Day. The other one has to leave. Loser leaves Judgment Day. Winner is Money in the Bank. That would be quite a good idea, I think. Either that or Damien or Finn, whichever one is going to stay in Judgment Day, needs to kick the other one out based on this fucking tiff. And the other one, and then they need to bring in JD McDonough or somebody like that. But we don't really, I mean, we had Gunter versus Drew. Again, this should have been a banger. And I don't think it was bad, but I just don't think it was too slow. I think maybe there was a bit of a disillusionment with the whole pay-per-view. There's been a lot of talk before the pay-per-view about matches being left off the card, particularly Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, which, why would you have that in Canada? Yes, Trish is from there, that's fair enough. But to me, it's a bit shit to have a major rivalry finish on a TV show rather than at a pay-per-view. Maybe that was poor planning. Maybe they just missed the trick. Maybe they just wanted to put it on a pay-per-view, but wanted to also have it in Canada, so they decided to go the other way. I know Becky would have been happy about being left off the card. I'm not happy she wasn't on the card. I always like seeing Becky. I don't know. I just think there's obviously some problems going on, particularly on the women's side of things. It seems to be being booked a bit rubbish at the minute, but that's not new. I think NXT did really well with the women's division once upon a time. I don't really know what's been going on there with the Thea Hale, Tiffany Stratton thing. I'm a massive Thea Hale fan, but if you're going to book her in a submission match and Tiffany Stratton does not have a submission in her back pocket, to me, it makes sense to just have Thea win. And judging on the fact that you've not featured Tiffany at all, really, apart from when she's, vaguely popped up to have a bit of a thing with Thea, like, I don't particularly think she should be the champion if she's not being the focal point, and she's not. It feels like an afterthought champion again. So what else did we have? Oh, we had a battle royal. Now, I don't know what this battle royal was doing on SummerSlam. I don't know what it's for. I don't know why it was there. It made no sense. It was just an absolute chaotic mess of a match. Omos freaking ruined it by coming out and inserting himself into the match for whatever reason. And I don't particularly rate him as a wrestler anyway, so I'd rather he wasn't on the main card at the expense of a load of talented women. Either way, I feel like it was a waste of time, and it was just used as a way to appease the fans by having LA Knight win it. Now, I'm all for LA Knight winning a battle royal, but what did he win a battle royal for? What does it gain him? Where does it push him? What's going on? It was, I mean, I'm not watching Raw and SmackDown very often at the minute, so that might be kind of the problem for me at this point. But to me, it's easy enough to make sense of something if you watch the pre-show as well, which I do. And that was just a battle royal to me. And it was not only that, it was a 25-man battle royal, which kind of makes me think, oh, hang on a minute. Like, in that encroaching on Royal Rumble territory? Like, why have we got a SummerSlam battle royal for no reason with no reward? Like, is the reward, oh, we're going to push you now? Because to be honest, should have already earned that with the amount of crowd reaction he's getting. And you shouldn't need to have a battle royale to do that. But regardless, LA Knight won, which is what we all knew was going to happen. So again, predictable, pointless, but good to see that you put in the spotlight on him. Just where's it leading? What's happening? It seems a bit rushed and a bit like you could have split up some of that fucking boring chatter and repeat of 20 million promos that we've all seen before, even without watching the bloody live TV shows. You could have separated it out a bit and had this battle royal on there, and then put Becky versus Trish on the main card, or Raquel versus Rhea. But we didn't get neither of those two women's matches. We just got the triple threat with the cash-in. So yeah, I'm a strong advocate for women's wrestling getting a bit more time on the card and everything. And yeah, this was poor in that sense. So slip that one in, and I think that's where they went wrong. The Battle Royal should have been on the pre-show. Even though I wouldn't want to see LA Knight higher up the card, I still think a Battle Royale with no fucking explanation of what it's for, or it just seems pointless and filler, that should be on the bloody or even have one of the women's matches on the pre-show. I don't need, like, what is it, about an hour, maybe, I think it was an hour of Booker T and Peter Rosenberg and whoever else chatting about what's going to happen. Like, you could split that out. Just stick a match on there, for fuck's sake. So regardless of that, next thing you get is we had, what do we have? Probably the best match of the night, Logan Paul and Ricochet. I personally think that Logan Paul shouldn't be taking up a spot on the card because of him being such a, a nondescript, he's just like a annoying little shit from YouTube who comes on and does like some wrestling. And he is good, don't get me wrong, for what training he's got and for how involved in the business he is. You can't fault the guy. He puts on a great match every time. So I'm not going to say he shouldn't ever wrestle or he shouldn't be involved. But if he's only going to be part-time, stay the chuff off the cards. I'm not a fan. So it was a nice surprise to see him put on another great match. And, it was pretty much the best match on the card. So as much as I don't want him on the card, and as much as I think he should be giving up his spot to someone who actually is there day in, day out, you can't fault the guy for what he does in the ring. And Ricochet was a great opponent for him, and he worked. I personally am sick of Ricochet getting a shit end of the stick. A lot, again, he's one of those people that 90% of the people I speak to feel like he should be doing a lot better than he is, and he's booked terribly. But like, they've always done a bit crap with certain types of people, types of wrestler, and I think Ricochet, unfortunately, is in that category of wrestler where they don't really know what to do with them, and they kind of have to make their own path in the WWE. Obviously, apart from maybe Rey Mysterio. So, regardless, Logan Paul versus Ricochet, probably the best match on the card, and that's the opening match. So, if you want to, I guess you could watch, if you haven't watched it already, you could watch Logan Paul Ricochet and then skip through to the end, and you probably won't miss much. I would probably watch the main event as well. One match that's left that I personally think was a waste of time and very confusing at the end was, and the beginning to be fair, was Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes, which is the rubber match, if you will, the final match, best of three, whatever you want to call it. And it was basically the slowest waste of time Brock Lesnar has ever done. Just like kept beating Cody up, throwing him outside, telling him to give up, doing it again and again and again and again. And then eventually, obviously, Cody rallies. And then we get some back and forth. And, it's not terrible, but it's just, I just can't be bothered. Number one, I'm not a fan of Brock Lesnar, really. Like, I respect his ability in the ring, but because he's part-time and because essentially he just seems to not be able to work with certain people, or he seems to not want to sell, or just seems to, his matches are just boring now. I just can't be bothered with him, and this was no exception. Cody Rhodes eventually has a nice big run, rallies, gets him down, and hits 3 crossroads and picks up the win. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. He's won, right? So, like, are we done with this now? Can we just, because obviously this was the rubber match. So I'm like, finally, we can freaking move on from this shit. Where's he going to go from here? Because he said that winning the World Heavyweight title would not be finishing the story. So he's not likely to go in that direction. Although I think if Finn's done, maybe there's an option there. Regardless, I think personally, if Cody is not gonna go that way, I mean, I don't know. Going back to the Roman Reigns ending, does Cody, the Shield music was featured, and it's like, is Cody gonna like somehow get into the title picture with Roman and maybe use the Shield as reasoning behind his title challenge? It's like, well, you've always got interference. You basically are going against what you used to stand for, justice and fairness and all that. So I don't know. Maybe could be a new version of the Shield with Cody leading it. I don't know. Personally, I think it was just a fuck up, or like some kind of weird nod to Roman's career. Maybe he's done. I'd love to see him just be done. I don't really care if anybody beats him at this point, because 3 or 4 people should have beaten him over his reign, and they've just not been let to do that. So regardless, Cody versus Brock, again, slow to start, bit of a rally. Cody got the win, and then the aftermath that I said was weird is Brock Lesnar actually goes and shakes his hand, and they have a bit of a respectful moment. And I'm like, why is that even a thing? We all know that Brock isn't really, it's very rare for him to have any respect for anybody, and it's very rare for him to be happy about losing. Obviously I don't think he was happy about losing, but it just seemed very weird that he would do that, go up and shake his hand, and not a respect, if you will. But it does end the feud, and hopefully that means it's over, and we don't get no more of this repeat of Brock Lesnar becoming a roadblock for anybody because he's freaking refuses to freaking lay down for anybody. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, Cody is like, it's great that he's picked up that win, but I feel like that whole feud was a waste of time. And it just filler to give Cody something to do while they work out how to get him back to Roman. I don't know. I'm a little bit annoyed with, as you can probably tell, with what they've been doing with a few people. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on SummerSlam. Let me just double check if I have missed anything. Oh yeah. So I can't believe I missed this. We had one more match, another women's match. Again, as is the theme with SummerSlam this year, a very slow match. Considering both of them are well versed in MMA matches, and both of them are known to be pretty aggressive in the ring, this was pretty tame. and it was also pretty boring for the majority of the time that it was on. But eventually we got the winner. We got Ronda Rousey getting beat by Shayna Baszler, and we got Shayna standing up and being like, yeah, it was always me. I was the badass. She's rubbish, you know. And I do kind of like that that's the way it went. But I don't know. The show respect at the beginning with Ronda going, oh, here you go. Like, and Shayna refusing the handshake makes sense because to me, Ronda never does that, as the commentator said. So why she did it in that situation makes no sense. And to be honest, like maybe after the match, but at the beginning, yeah, Shayna's not going to do that. But just to say, yeah, Shayna won the match, and yeah, it wasn't great, but it did get better as the match went on, and the end was okay. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on SummerSlam. Let me know what you think. If you've got any thoughts of your own you want to share, feel free to pop them in the comments. And yeah, basically, just hopefully we get some better shows in the near future, because we had a good run for a while and it just seems to have tailed off again at the minute. And I think, as much as I hate to admit it, I think it's partly because the Bloodline storyline is no longer like entertaining for people as much as it was, and they need to come up with something new, and they still haven't quite figured that out. But hopefully, hopefully we'll get something more to talk about. If you do want to see me do more of these, please do drop a comment and let me know. I might be up for doing another one of these when the next NXT event comes around. But yeah, I'm trying to get some more video content on YouTube, just as a just to sort of put out a feeler on that. I'm looking at doing rum videos. Tonight's rum was Golden Book, cherry and vanilla rum, and I only had the one because I was testing it with some Vimto to see if it worked, but it didn't. It was okay, but not special. So yeah, it'd be nice to get some people. If you're into rum, maybe let me know, and I'll try and get some videos out soon. But yeah, I am going to go to bed because it's like 6 a.m. in the UK. So I am absolutely shattered. Sorry if you're just joining. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on SummerSlam if you've watched it. And I'll probably reply to your comments when I've had some sleep. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, morning, day, or have a good kip. And I will speak to you soon. Take it easy. Yep.